Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Thursday before WrestleMania weekend begins in earnest. It is me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here this Thursday to get thirsty for this WrestleMania Saturday preview and prediction show. It's our very good friend, Paul Pratt. Paul, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
So glad to be back. What a weekend. As you well know, everyone in the world of professional wrestling is pretty much going to be in Dallas this weekend. So most of us are already arriving in Dallas right now as you're watching this.
That's true. I'm already there. By the time you're watching this, I'm gone. I'm there. I'm in Dallas. I'm sure it's beautiful. Too. Yeah, it's nice. Certainly, I'm not terrified walking around downtown. That's not how I feel about Dallas. Beautiful town. Love Dallas. Great place.
I'm excited because I looked up the weather forecast and it's like sunny and beautiful. And for my reasons and purposes, the fact that it's in the low 70s all week is ideal because there's nothing I want to.
Like such grace as well. We were sitting there in t-shirts and shorts sweating. You were walking around in like this beautiful, like it was like newspaper clippings type outfit or something like that. I remember.
It was graffiti. Remember that?
That's right.
Yeah, that. Man, Chicago was so hot last year. And what do you expect? It was like Labor Day in Chicago, and it's very warm there. But spring in Dallas looks perfectly appropriate and beautiful. And I mean, it'll be a massive improvement over my very first Big Gay Brunch, which was in Tampa last WrestleMania season, which was like 1 bazillion degrees. And then it immediately started like tsunami.
It's a I think that's a technical number, bazillion. Very, very hot.
Well, saying that on the thing, 1 bazillion.
1 bazillion, yeah. Well, Big Gay Brunch is gonna be on Fight, so people want to watch it. Are you gonna be hosting just like last time, or no? Like it's gonna be different this time.
I'm gonna be hosting Big Gay Brunch as well as JCW versus LA Fight. So you can catch me a few times this weekend on Fight TV, and you'll catch me at WrestleMania with Mickie James on that weekend as well too. So I'm just everywhere.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well. We'll show or else will be WrestleMania weekend later on in the show. Also later in the show, we're going to get our number 2 match and our Wrestling Inc. WrestleMania countdown, greatest matches of all time. So we'll talk about that later. We'll dive into the mailbag. We're going to look at what match from night 1 or WrestleMania Saturday, whichever one you want to call it, which one you're most excited about. Without further ado, let's dive into it here. Today's news you can use, news that will leave a bruise, is actually a preview and prediction for WrestleMania Saturday. It's hard to say WrestleMania Saturday. I'm just used to saying night 1, night 2, but I'm getting used to it. Anyway, so
are they calling it WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday?
They're calling it, they're WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. That's what they call it.
Okay, sure.
I think they want it to be like Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. Anyway, but there's alliteration there. Super Bowl Sunday. That's why it works. WrestleMania Sunday. Yeah. Anyway. All right, so we have the card here for WrestleMania Saturday. This is the card from Wikipedia, which I usually find to be the most reliable because people obsessively update it all the time. So I believe this to be the authentic, as of now, WrestleMania Saturday card. We're going to read it in the order of the matches that they're listed. That is the order in which we will go. So We'll start here. We will. Yeah, I know. So like this is. I wonder if they think this is the order. How close Wikipedia usually is. I'm not sure.
It depends on who's updating it. It would not shock me if there was somebody from WWE actually in there doing part of it, because that's, part of the great things about crowdsourcing like that. Crowdsourcing information, anybody can jump in there and do it.
It's a pretty good match order. I'm not going to lie. Like whoever did it, it's a pretty decent run sheet. So anyway, we'll start with what they have. I guess opening the show would be a very dramatic opening match for the WrestleMania weekend. Becky Lynch, champion, defending against Bianca Belair. It feels very much like Bianca's time to take this back. I don't know how you do it any other way. How about, what says you? What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, first of all, man, it harkens me back to watching in absolute tears last year when Bianca won the main event of WrestleMania to become the women's world champion. And that was just a historic moment. And then Becky came and shit on it. I mean, sorry, it's like a little early. She crapped all over that. Sorry, listeners, for my profanity.
That's okay.
It was a situation where that came about in a way that just did not please a lot of people, I think. I'm certainly there were the Becky enthusiasts, but for anybody who had invested in Bianca, they did not love that. So this could be a great opportunity for Bianca to get that moment again and finally get the comeuppance that she kind of deserves over Becky for taking that moment from her last year.
Yeah, it would feel that way. And, I did the a preview show with TK that'll air tomorrow as we look at night 2. Of course, Street Profits have a chance to maybe pick up some gold of their own. Such a great moment last time seeing Montez by Bianca's side after her win. Be great to see both of them with gold over their shoulders kind of for a very powerful WrestleMania moment. People love them. I think that'd be a good feel-good moment. Why not?
Yeah, and they are, people always talk about wholesome content, regarding the internet and stuff. And I think that Bianca and Montez are a very that wholesome content.
Mm-hmm.
I would have likened them to other popular couples in media that people support and love, except for the fact that the husband in one of those just slapped somebody on Sunday. So let's move on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. That Will Smith thing, it's never going to die. We're all going to talk about it for the rest of our lives. The Will Smith slap heard around the world.
Yeah, but the reality was that Will and Jada, and it's not because they're a popular Black couple, just for the listener's sake. They're a couple that through no matter what their trials and tribulations have been, people love and adore them because they show such love and respect for each other. And that was the correlation that I was making. Bianca and Montez just show such love and respect for each other on social media. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So to see both of them actually having professional success in the midst of all of that personal, success and kind of self-adoration that they have in the couple, I think would be just beautiful.
Hey, Montez has got the best backhand in pro wrestling. No doubt about it. When he flings that thing, it's wonderful. It's a thing of beauty. Anyway, it sounds like we both agree. Bianca favored here and would make the most sense, right?
I would love to see it. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I would love to see it.
All right. Well, moving on. Next on our list here, Rey Mysterio, Dominik Mysterio, the Mysterios taking on The Miz and Logan Paul. Love the little twist with the mask here. Logan Paul wearing the mask is the most douchey thing I think I've ever seen in my whole life. What's not to hate, right? Dominik trying to earn the mask. There's layers here. I actually am kind of digging the work. I think Miz has done pretty well in his role as like the ringleader, so to speak. And I hope that Miz and Logan Paul beat him, and I hope it leads to some dissension here between the Mysterios. I think that'd be wonderful.
I think that I wish I was more invested in this match. I'm just going to be very blunt. Like this,
Okay.
most of the card of this, the most of the WrestleMania card. This is the first time that I can ever remember being so uninvested in most of the show. So I think that Logan Paul, they're making maximum use of his popularity. I think that this is a very good use for a celebrity. And of course, Miz pulls this off so beautifully. Miz is able to make up for everything that I do not feel for the Mysterios. So I think that the idea of teasing dissension between the Mysterios, I think the idea of giving something a little more concrete to the character of Dominik Mysterio, other than just Rey's son, would be highly beneficial for everyone involved.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly. Yeah. And that's why I say it's like, I think Miz and Logan Paul, like a big heelish moment there. I mean, you can't have WrestleMania is a lot of babies going over traditionally, but you can't have everybody going over. And I'd rather leave the Mysterios in a place of like loss and defeat. That's a far more better place for them on the other side of WrestleMania for me than they get the big win over Logan Paul and the Miz, and we go back to they just kind of float around until the next tag team comes along. It's kind of
exactly. It gives them meat for a story, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
One of the things that WrestleMania has traditionally done has been to either, make people, like we saw Bianca Belair, we thought that's what happened last year with Bianca. It makes them so that they come out of this as ready to take on an entirely new persona or trajectory in the company, or something massive happens in terms of story so that they have something to latch onto immediately after and then take them into the next series of pay-per-views. So this would be that opportunity to give this family, Rey and Dominik, something actual to do, because it does not appear that they're in the title hunt right now. So give them something to do that would be worthwhile.
So Drew McIntyre is going to take on Happy Corbin on WrestleMania Saturday. Madcap Moss will also be in the corner of Corbin. I'm looking at this match a lot like the Bobby Lashley Omos match. Obviously, that match didn't have as much build. This one has maybe had too much build, one could argue. But I think they're gonna give Drew McIntyre a win here over Corbin, just like Lashley's gonna get the win over Omos, because they're gonna need some guys ready and heated up come post WrestleMania when Brock and Roman are done. Like, you can't have a 2-man main event picture forever. I see this as another warm up. I don't know if you disagree on that one.
As far as I'm concerned, anytime you're talking about Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, that's already talking about a warm up. Like,
oh,
it's the
come on, they're great. They're really fun. I like Corbin and Moss.
I think that they work well together. Whatever they do does not work for me. That is definitely like if you're there live, you'll know that this is going to give you the first 15 minutes of going to get in line for your cool, refreshing beverages, and hope that, there's, when you think it's coming, go, because I'll be showing the recap package. Then you'll get the match. Then you'll get the recap package after. You should be almost through the line to get back to your seat by the next time the actual match you want to see, kids.
These guys can go. Corbin and McIntyre both can wrestle. I think, again, look, the WWE storytelling in general is very much like take what you can get, right? The matches always deliver. There's a lot of great like matchups here. I like these two together. I think it'll be a good bout. But all this is to me is it's a speed bump to where we need to get after WrestleMania. I don't know. This thing has gone on way too long. Way too long of a storyline between Corbin and McIntyre for my taste.
Yes, and far too long. I mean, this extends back to what, last year sometime, late last year it started.
Oh yeah, oh totally, yeah. We're reaching 4 or 5 months now. It's
beyond, and for whatever reason, I do not like Baron Corbin. I've never liked him. He's never connected with me, which is kind of odd because I tend to like the heels a lot, and he does not connect with me. He's never connected with me. Madcap Moss, I think, was an interesting use and rebirth of somebody who was sort of being ill-used, or had nothing, not even used at all. And we saw with that, in the past recent months, the guy can actually go in the ring. He's a talented in-ring performer.
Yeah.
But otherwise not of interest to me. And Drew McIntyre, I feel bad for the man because he was one of the main events last year. So, and here he is.
Well, hey, look, again, it's a two-man main event picture right now. It's Rock and Roman's show. On the other side of this, you're going to need some people that can step up and make claims to be back at that main event picture. And I think Drew will be right back where we all want him to be. And he's just such he's such a stereotype. He's become like the stereotypical 80s wrestler for Vince McMahon. Like, he's just like the good white meat baby face. His programs go on for a while with a dastardly heel that you can buy enough. He's got a sidekick here. Just feels very old school the way Drew gets booked. He's a very engaging person. I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but like, his stories are not that ridiculous. He's very
got
much
his big sword, and he's like, by the power of Grayskull. And I can't wait for his program with Skeletor to begin.
Oh, Corbin's got the sword now, right? Isn't that hasn't he stolen the sword before? I feel like this isn't the first time he stole the sword.
Man, that sword's a pass around, Patty. She's getting a bad reputation, Angela.
Okay, all right. The Usos are going to defend their Smackdown Tag Titles against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Booge. I could not help but notice on Raw that when he said, "My name is Rick," that place echoed Booge. Is there something here with this guy? Are we like 6 months away from Booge Mania?
I thought it was Boogs with a good
Booge.
Boogs.
It's a tough word. I don't like it.
But I think that this guy is crazy over. I mean, they freaking love him. And, he's turned his actual name into his catchphrase, basically.
Yeah.
They do watch it live. Just when you watch the show live, he gets one of the biggest pops of the entire night, and then he's out there shredding on the guitar, and plus you can't discredit the fact that he's got a great look. He's got a phenomenal physique. He has real ability, and what they have been able to do with him in regards to making him a low-key mouthpiece for Shinsuke is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I'm big on the Rick Boogs train. I mean, he just looks like a wrestler, right? He's big,
Yes.
he's proportioned. He's got the Freddie Mercury mustache going on right now. He looks like a jacked Freddie Mercury. I can't unsee that. I'm a big fan.
He looks like a rock star, and that's the thing, like a classic rock star.
I don't see the Usos losing the SmackDown Tag Titles here, but I guess if they did, it would add a bit of a twist to Lesnar and Roman, right? Like, oh, they took the titles off of Usos. Where are they going with this? I don't know.
I do not see the Usos losing these belts because the WWE has been not treating Shinsuke the absolute best of late, and this is a situation where I would like to see actually Rick Boogs and Shinsuke do this. I think it would be interesting. It'd be nice to inject some new faces into the WWE tag team division because it has been remarkably stale for an incredibly long time. I would much rather see if we've got this kind of like unification of the main titles, please unify the tag team titles because you've only got 5 teams on all your brands and nobody's using them properly. So please, let's work towards making that division actually look a lot stronger, and one belt would do that. But I would love to see these guys carry those out of there.
I think you could do 2 divisions. But yeah, the other match we have here, the other tag match is also SmackDown. The New Day, Woods and Kingston are going to take on Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch in their corner. This is the least interested I am at any match at WrestleMania by a mile. The Butch thing is weird. The way Kofi and Woods are being positioned is weird. I feel like Sheamus and Holland are going to get the win here because they're a new unit. With Butch, I don't know, man. Like, what do you think here?
Let's hope nobody else gets their neck broken. Like,
yeah, hey, he seems like he took that thing like it was an accident. Things happen, right? But it
was in the context of this kind of this setting, right? Like these people. So
yeah,
it's one of those things where I do think that if they wanted to really go that direction, it becomes like we're defending our brother, and if that's the way they go, there's no way they can put Sheamus and the other guy over. There's no way that Ridge and Sheamus can go over. So, but I do like this unit that they're creating, this sort of like brawling, Irish UK type of unit that they're putting together. I think that they have chops, and those guys collectively look like an impressive unit. So again, this is something that is beneficial, and certainly in the long run, I think that these two going over would be much more interesting than the New Day.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's I think these guys need to get the win here. I think they need to be established. I think we need to see that moment. And I'm with you, right? Like, this is a new act that has legs. Like, you have Sheamus, this veteran. We've seen him in factions before, but we've never, I don't know if we've ever seen him lead a faction. Is this kind of a new role for him in some ways?
I mean, I think I'm trying to think back, and maybe he hasn't been like the leader of a faction, but I think that this has real potential, and it harkens me to what is the name that they gave in AEW to Moxley and Bryan.
The Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, like that this group has that kind of feel to me. Like, that name seems like, like kind of like the Belfast Combat Club, kind of thing. Ooh. The Belfast Brawlers.
That's good. Yeah.
But that kind of, if they have that feel of like, they literally and legitimately feel like a group of guys who would have met and bonded through some kind of like underground fight club scene, or bare knuckles boxing thing. So I like them as a collective because they seem legitimate and kind of badass.
Agreed. You're going to take it after sneeze. I muted it so everybody didn't have to hear me sneeze, but Paul had to watch. All right, we are getting into
waiting for it anxiously. I was like, and then nothing.
Yeah, it's no sound. I know. I'm sorry. I should have given everybody the payoff. This match right here is a very anticipated bout. Seth freaking Rollins. He's going to take on TBA. Very much assumed it will be Cody Rhodes. McMahon is going to announce officially, I guess it's Cody or whoever else, right before the bout with Seth Rollins standing in the ring. Where's your excitement level on this one, Paul?
I don't know. I think that it's certainly one of the most buzzy matches of this show, right? Like, it's one of the most buzzy matches of the weekend because of the fact that people are anxiously and optimistically hoping that it will be Cody. My gut, on the other hand, says that if indeed they are putting Cody Rhodes in this match, smart money would have promoted it. Like you would get more people. Or maybe not. Maybe you just keep it secret and allow people to tune in and pay their money on the off chance that it's Cody Rhodes.
They wanted to do the CM Punk thing. They wanted to do the CM Punk thing for like whatever messed up like mental reason. I feel like they wanted to steal Punk's thing from him and make it their own.
Well, I part of me in my head says that that's a Cody thing because Cody watched that happen and was like, nobody's this excited about me. And now, maybe
it wasn't his last promo in AEW all about like Punk's pipe bomb or something. Remember? And everyone was like, "We're bored, go away." And he's like, "Fine," and he left.
Mm-hmm. Legitimately, they were like, "Leave, get out.
We don't.
We're gonna F you and all this stuff." And then I think that part of him inside was like crying and just like, "I will."
He wants to play catch with Dad, Vince's dad. And that's what it's always been about. And I think it's going to be a very powerful visual when Cody comes out to his theme music, dressed like Homelander with Pharaoh by his side. And he comes up from the ground or whatever. And then he walks over and him and Vince McMahon have this big, long father-son hug for the whole world to see how much Cody and Vince love each other. And then Vince walks away and Cody can go do a 20-minute fantastic bout with Seth Rollins, and then off we go to Monday Night Raw,
where he debuts with polka dots.
Polka dots. Gerald Briscoe was advocating for
that. I saw a Gerald Briscoe thing. I think it'd be great if he wrestled with polka dots. Gerald Briscoe. Wrong.
I get sent these timestamps and transcripts from the team to put together these posts, and I saw that and I was like, "That's a post." Gerald Briscoe advocating for Cody to wear the polka dots. Let's do news, people. This is news.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? We're going to have you come in and replicate one of the most humiliating elements. I mean, God love him, because eventually Dusty got that polka dot thing over. And Tommy Dreamer, of course, still like replicates it to this day. But I just remember being horrified as a fan of Dusty Rhodes before he went to WWF that's what happened.
Last match here. Charlotte Flair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey. One would assume a big crowning moment for Ronda Rousey here. Anything that you want to put on that one beyond this?
It's hard to have the baby face in quotes in your match be as unpopular overall as this woman has become. This is a situation quite often, I think, very recently, especially since we're talking about like the Hall of Fame this weekend and whatever, and there was a lot of talk about Glenn Jacobs or Kane coming and helping to induct the Undertaker, but then Glenn Jacobs' real life persona overtaking his wrestling persona and tainting the imagery that people have of him. I think that that's what we're seeing here, that Ronda Rousey in the world of professional wrestling, people in UFC might not have cared about it as much because of the fact that she could come in and she could fight. And she was not a particularly delightful person back in her UFC days. But in the world of professional wrestling, she bit the hand that feeds. And that's the fans. She trash talked the fans in a way that they knew was real because she wasn't putting over an angle. She had taken her ball and gone home, and she crapped on us, the fans. And it's been a long road to hoe for her to come back. And I do not think that she has the kind of popularity they would, or will get the response that they would like her to get if she goes over on Charlotte Flair. So I'm pulling for Charlotte. Charlotte at least knows what side her bread's buttered on.
I would like to be Charlotte too. I think Charlotte definitely deserves a big win over Ronda Rousey in the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, something she can laud forever. I mean, it's not like she didn't have an issue doing the job for Ronda. Why can't we pay this thing forward, Ronda? Right?
There's no paying it forward for Ronda.
Okay, so
Ronda.
before we get to what will be the presumptive main event for night one, I forgot to mention this up top. If I have an interview I did at the Collective or something like that I can insert into the show, it will be after the news block here and before the retro segment. If not, after we finish the news, there'll probably be an ad break, and then you'll hear the retro segment and the mailbag very briefly to wrap up the show.
Holy crap, this is like Nick Hausman introducing Seth freaking Rollins' TBD opponent. Like, you could be getting an actual interview, or it could just be the end of the show.
Could be the end of the show, could be Cody Rhodes. We don't know. Last thing here, Kevin Owens is going to do the KO show with guest Steve Austin. This is, I guess, going to end the show. Do you think this is the right thing to end night one with, Paul?
You know, I saw Raj tweet.
Oh, I saw it too.
Raj Giri, our very own Vince McMahon of Wrestling Inc., has said that if you do not think that Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens should be the closing act or main event of WrestleMania, then that's your opinion, but you can't watch wrestling shows with him. I do think that this moment is one of probably, if not the most anticipated moment of this particular night's show. The return of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Stone Cold Steve Austin has certainly earned his place in history as the main event of any WrestleMania. Do I think a segment should end the show rather than a wrestling match? When your wrestling card is as overall lackluster as this WrestleMania card is, I would end it with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I think you do worry. I think you do run the risk of blowing out your audience. You bring out Steve too early. And in my head, I do see Steve Austin and The Undertaker having beers in the middle of the ring to wrap up night one. Undertaker will have been inducted the night before to the Hall of Fame. Seems like too easy to do, knowing the kind of surprise reaction that would get. Obviously, Steve on his own with his shirt off, looking like $1 million, kicking ass is going to be its own kind of statement. So I'm fine. It's weird to me, right? Like, the women are going to main event WrestleMania, but two guys get to close the show. That feels very odd to me. So whatever. It is what it is. All right, Paul, I want to thank you for joining me at the top of Show Talk all of the WrestleMania 38 Saturday matches. I want to thank everybody for tuning in here. We got a little bit more to go, and I guess if I played an interview, thank you to whoever that was, and if I didn't
screw them.
Screw them, doesn't matter. All right, we did a internal vote of some people at the site to determine the top 7 WrestleMania matches. It was a very flawed system. We're going to work on it to refine it, make it better, get more people.
That was like ultra flawed because I wasn't included.
Yes, there were a lot of people that did not get included that I am finding out about. So we're going to do it better next time. But hey, we took what we got, and we got a number 2 on our top 7, and that's WrestleMania 3's Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. The moment that launched a movement when Hulk Hogan flipped Andre the Giant. Number 2, how do you feel about where it's slotted? You think it's rightly placed here?
Well, before I talk about that, I want to say that how opportune, because the day that we are recording this, which is the day before you're listening to it, is the actual 35-year anniversary of that actual match.
Okay.
So, and in terms of, maybe it's a scenario where, as you age, everything that from your childhood takes on more significance than it might should in terms of importance or comparison to things of today. But there has never been, in my opinion, a more talked about WrestleMania moment, a more talked about WrestleMania main event than Hogan versus Andre. So in terms of the build for that match, the social impact, like the societal impact, it was a cultural phenomenon at the time. Those were all wildly important. I also firmly believe that this was WrestleMania 3. So it was the first time an actual singles event, main event, singles match was the main event at WrestleMania. The previous main events had all been tag matches, like, big celebrity type of tag match things or whatever. This was the first solo main event of WrestleMania. And I think that, putting the match aside, because the match was not that great, the impact of it and and how memorable it was, and the meme ability, if you will use words of today to apply 35 years ago, huge, colossal. And I'm surprised, honestly, that it's only number 2.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll get to number 1 tomorrow. It's another good pick, but I agree. I mean, it's hard to top Hogan Andre. It is the most iconic wrestling match of all time. Easily, if you ask somebody to name a wrestling match on the street, they would maybe say Hogan versus Andre. All right. Lastly, here, before we wrap it up, in the mailbag, at Week Daily, I asked you all what match you're most looking forward to from Night 1, WrestleMania Saturday. Over 500 votes here, 58.5 go to Edge Styles. 18-5 Lynch Belair, 14.1 to other. I didn't officially list Seth Cody, though that was pretty much the blowout of the write-ins section.
It was
9% for Flair Rousey, which is supposed to main event this show. And wait, did Edge and AJ, did we gloss over that in the preview?
We didn't even talk about it.
Wait, is it on Night 1? Was Wikipedia wrong?
It's been moving around. I think that initially it was announced on Night 1, but I think that if you look in the comments under the thing, it may have moved now to Night 2.
Oh my God. It's such a big match. I feel bad it didn't get properly previewed as part of our preview shows.
But I think that is a big part of it's. I didn't say anything about it because I had read that it was moving to Night 2. And I think that is one of the problems that we're experiencing with this particular weekend. And one of the reasons why I've felt so disengaged, besides the fact that I've been utterly disengaged by WWE in general for quite some time. But this show, it's a lot of moving parts. Some of them are not clicking until the last minute. They're trying to promote 2 shows in one weekend, and it just does not allow for that sort of, you can tell me as many times as you want that this is going to be the most stupendous, most phenomenal, most whatever WrestleMania in history, but unless you've got the matches to back it up, I can't agree with that. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and that is why, as you're presumably Googling to find out if there's, what
it's
night
all over the place. I'm finding it listed on different places on different sites right now. So yes, I don't feel terrible now. It's going to be a banger. That's my prediction for it, right?
I think that of all the matches on this card, I think that one stands the highest propensity to be something that people are actually talking about. And that's not because of the hype necessarily, or not because of anything other than the fact that these are 2 men who you can put in the ring with anyone, and they're going to deliver fire. So the 2 of them going head to head on a WrestleMania stage is going to be incredible.
All right. Well, we have to wrap it up there, everybody, for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back on Monday with a regular show. Tomorrow, we'll be back with another pre-tape. It'll be me and TK previewing Night 2. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support us on whatever podcast platform you like. Support WrestlingInc.com and come back tomorrow night after SmackDown for the Wrestling Inc. podcast, where we talk the news late at night and things like that. Paul, anything you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
I mean, it just goes without saying. If you're in Dallas, come find me. I will be at the collective weekend for GCW all over. Whether I'm on the shows or not, I'm going to be lurking. So if you're there and you see me, come say hi. I would love that. I'd love the opportunity to meet some people. And if you're in that area, definitely come to Big Gay Brunch. Come on now. That's my stomping grounds. And if you have not gotten the opportunity to preview the talent of LA Fights, come to Jersey Championship Wrestling versus LA Fights underneath the GCW banner and umbrella. That one, I think, could be the show stealer for the weekend.
Awesome. And I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't.